Chapter 1 Home Sales Grader. When you download the files, make sure you put them in a folder. Maybe you want it on your desktop, on your C drive or a pen drive, but put the files together in a folder. I wanted to show you what the files look like. This is the instructions. I have them open and small down here below, and we'll follow those step by step as we go through the grader. When you download the grader, it defaults. It probably's already put your last name there instead of the word student. I'm going to resave this file, and I want you to see the saving process of Access. Access will have a default place on your computer it will want to save to, but you need to make sure you get it in the folder you are going to be working with. Every time you open Access, it's going to say, do you want to enable this content? Because this is a working database. So your security software also will see that. Doesn't matter which security software you have. You need to enable content because you know you can trust this product. And this time we're going to go File, Save As. It gives me all sorts of choices. I want to save my database as or an object or old files. We want to make sure we're on Access Database top left-hand corner most current, which would be the Office 2016 or Office 365 version that you would be running. Then we want to come down to the purple Save As icon. This takes all the pieces of the database and puts them where we want. I'm going to go to desktop, and I've already identified a folder with a key that I'm going to put my file in. Now here's the file that I'm saving, but because I'm renaming it, it's going to make another copy. I'm going to call it 1, and I'm going to call it video. So I know that I'm saving Access Chapter 1 database. When I upload for grading, I'm going to look for that 1. Right here where video is, I advise you to put your last name or maybe your last and first name, so it looks way different when you go to upload it for grading. I'm going to go save, and I again have to enable content. Now I'm ready to get started with the project. We completed step 1 by saving the product and downloading the Access file and saving it. And now we're going to go to step 2. Create a new table in Design View. And so that's our first step we're going to do right here. And I am going to highlight that so you know what we're working on. And I'm going to come up here to the Create tab. And I'm going to just click Create Table. Later on, we'll be working with queries, we'll be working with forms, we'll be working with reports. And you can create all those through your Create tab. But today, for step 2, we're going to create a table. When we first create something, like a table, it defaults and shows us what's called the data sheet view. Very often, data sheet looks like Excel with just a couple of cells highlighted. Since we want Design View, I'm going to come over here to View and change to Design. If you are in Access and things don't look right for the example you're working on or something you're trying to change, come over to View and look at the different views. Data sheet looks like Excel. Design View is similar to Excel with elongated columns, but beneath it will have a place where we can change properties, fields, and add formulas. So once I click Design, it's going to ask me to save this table. Later on in step 3, it tells you to save the table as agents. I'm going to go ahead and do that now so you can see the process. Currently, our table is named Table 1, and that's identified here on our tab. When I finish and type in agents and go OK, our tab changes to agents. We now have this field properties I was telling you about, which comes in Design View. Okay, again, we are in Design View. And now each one of our fields, which you know as column headings, will be right here. Our first field is named ID, and it has a little key by it. That little key is a primary key and gives a unique identifier for each field or column heading that we choose. You probably have a primary key. You have a social security number or a matriculation number at your college or university. That's a unique set of numbers that's given only to you. Each item or each item in a field will have a unique identifier, And just like your social security number or your matriculation number, every item will be slightly different. Okay, step 2, add the field name agent ID. We currently have an ID field, so I'm just going to click in that, use my arrows to go behind it, and type the word agent. We want no spaces in our field names. We want capitals to identify between word combinations, but again, no spaces. It says change the data type to auto number. I'm going to use my tab key to move over to data type, but you will see it's already defaulted on auto number. But do notice we have date and time, currency, and other types of data format. We will be using short text, auto number, date, time, and currency in this assignment. Now it says change the data type for auto number. We did that. Set agent ID is primary key. That happened for me by default. If it hasn't happened for you, you can click agent ID and come over here and click primary key, and that will give you that little key symbol right there. Okay, so you know that you can identify that as a primary key. And that is the end of step 2. Access Chapter 1, Step 3. Add the following field names: first name, last name. Notice that they're smashed together. There are no spaces, and both last and name are capitalized, and title in that order. And accept short text as the data type for all fields. Then save the table. So here are our field names. They're right here in this column. Okay. So right now we have an agent field with a data type auto number. I'm going to click in the second row and I'm going to type first name. And I'm going to go ahead and type these out so you can watch how it's default saying, oh, you probably want short text. I could put a description, but it hasn't asked me to. Adding descriptions back here on the third column is huge, especially if other people are going to use your database and enter information and they weren't part of the database construction. They need to know on the user's end exactly what a first name short text is. And maybe your members are at a bank and they're signing up for a new debit card or a savings account. You would need your users at the tellers entering this information to know that this should be the first name of the new user, and it should probably be a complete name. Last name, and then I hit tab, it defaults short text, and then my last choice is title. In this case, it's going to be like a title of a real estate agent. Maybe they're an agent, maybe they're a broker, maybe they're the CFO. That's what that data type description would be. Once we've come all the way through, Access saves as we go on to the new row or our new field name, but I'm going to go ahead and save anyway. You could hit your floppy disk, or I can like to go up to the tab of the table and save that object specifically. I'll go save, and it does not tell us to close at this time, and that is the end of step 3. Step 4, switch to datasheet view. So right now we're in design view. We can check that by coming over here to our view tab that's located in design, and we can go to datasheet view, and then it's going to ask us to add records. So we're going to click here. Access will assign the ID number. It is already doing that. I just hit tab and it's assigned that we're going to have a new person. And then I type in the first name. I hit tab. I type in the last name. I hit tab. And this person's title is broker. I'm going to do one more for you. You can see how that was agent number 2. And guess what? This is going to be, number 1. This is going to be agent number 2. And then what I'm going to do, now that you know I just hit tab between the fields, I'm going to pause the video, finish my typing, and I'll be back with you in 2 shakes. I've finished typing my 6 agents and their IDs. I just wanted to show you that all 6 have a unique identifier, their primary key identification 1 through 6. And here between title and click, we can also click our mouse and drag that over so we can see all those components under title. and we have completed step 4. Step 5. Sort the agents by last name field in ascending order. If you've worked on Excel with me before, you've made interactive tables. Each one of those columns has a pull-down menu where you can do sorts and filters. When we alphabetize or organize last names in ascending order, that ascending means A to Z. If it was telling us to do descending, that would be Z to A. A to C or ascending order is also considered smallest to largest, and descending order would also be considered largest to smallest. So we're going to go in ascending order. We're going to sort A to Z. We've got Doherty first and Yang last, but do notice that it does keep all your row information together. USA Chang still has the last name of Yang and the title of agent. And that is the end of step 5. Step 6, add a selection filter. That's on our home tab, and we have filters right here, so that everyone with a title other than agent, so we're going to be working with titles other than agent in training, displays. So basically what it's asking us to do is not have agent in trainings displayed. And then it tells us to go ahead and save the changes to the table design and close the agents table. So I'm going to come back up here to the column of titles, and then I'm going to go to my home tab to the sort and filter panel to selection. And again, it's adding us to do I'll go ahead and underline that for you as well, a selection filter. All right. So come up here to title, come up to the sort and filter panel to selection, and notice how it goes. What do you want us to do? Well, we do not want to equal agent in training. So let's see how that goes. Now we have, oh, and I came down and hit toggle filter. Sorry about that. Because we don't want it to equal agent in training, it now just shows us a broker, an agent, a broker, a president, and an agent. And that's it. We are asked to save the changes. I'm going to right click my tab and hit save. And it asks us to go ahead and close the table. So I can go right click and close here. I can also click my little X over here, either way, and close. Do notice over in all access objects, we have 2 tables now. We started with just one table, the properties table. Now we have 2. As we progress through access, we will have other subheadings like tables called queries, forms, and reports. So look to see all access objects grow. You can also close the whole access navigation pane and have a bigger database stage to work on. You can reopen it, and you can also close the subtitle tables. If you were just working in queries, you might want to just open those queries up and be able to work with those. I'm going to put everything back like it was, and that's the end of step. Working on Access Chapter 1, we're on Step 7. Open the Properties table in Design View. Well, right now, both your tables are closed. You can click once on the Properties table and then right-click. That right-click provides you with a pull-down menu, and you can go into Design View. When you click Design View, it opens that table in the view you wanted. If you got the other view, no worries. Just come over here to View and click the Design View. All right. So now we can see our fields and their data types. We're being asked to go ahead and change those data types. So let's work on that. The first is date listed, field names, data type. So we want to do date listed. Okay. And we want to make that a date and time field. And that makes sense because what we're trying to do is make that date and time field have the numbers come back like a date. So like Wednesday, April 12th, 2017. So I'm going to come up here to the top of my table. And I'm going to go to date list, and I'm going to come over here to data type and click in that field. And I'm going to pick the pull down menu. And on the pull down menu, I'm going to come all the way down to date and time. Click on that, and then your date listed will come back as date and time in the right form. The next choice is to make list price a currency, and that makes sense because your list price is going to come back as a dollar format, so we want to pick currency. Square foot is going to come back as a number. Very often you have 1,800 square feet for a 3-bedroom bath and a half house. Beds will also come back as a number because it'll say you have 3 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms. Baths should come back as a number because you might have 1.5 baths or 2 baths. And then the next thing it wants us to change is agent ID to number. So we don't change address. Watch on that field and data type. And we change agent ID to a number, not an auto number. Save the changes of the design of the table and then switch to data sheet view. So I'm going to come up here to properties. On my properties tab, I'm going to right click and hit save. And it says some data may be lost. Since this is if you were designing a database, you would want to know exactly what that is. But in this case, we're going to say yes because that was part of the assignment. We're going to come over to view, switch to data sheet view, and so now you can see our list price are in currency, our dates are in date format, and of course our beds and baths are numbers. I am going to go ahead and get ready for the end of step 7. Step 8, sort the records in the properties table. We are still in the properties table by the list price field. Okay, here is the list price field, but notice it's saying largest to smallest. And remember, I was talking about that just a little bit earlier. Largest to smallest means descending. So right now we've got 85,000, which is probably one of the least expensive houses, and 172, but we're looking for these numbers like 497 to be at the top. So I'm going to click our arrow in our interactive table. I'm going to pick largest to smallest. And when I do that, that $497,000 house is at the top. I'm going to save because I like to do that lots. You can save by your floppy disk. You can save by right-clicking your Properties tab. And you can also go Control and S to save. And that's the end of step 8. Step 9. Use filter by form to create a filter that will identify all properties with a list price less than $300,000 and 2 bedrooms. So we want to make sure that our filter by form identifies both list price of less than $300,000 and 2 bedrooms. So I'm thinking about list price. And I'm going to come up here to my Home tab on Sort and Filter, and I'm going to go to Advanced, and I'm going to pick Filter by Form. This will give me a row of just my field names, my column headers. Let's click on that, and now we can make individual criteria for each one of these fields. For example, if we click in List Price, we can go Shift and Less Than, which is above your comma, and type 300,000. We don't want commas in our number, and we want to make sure we just have 5 zeros. Now I'm going to tab on over, and I'm going to go to bedrooms, and we have a pull down here. We can choose 2 bedrooms, and now our form will bring our table back to us, only showing those houses that are less than 300,000 and have 2 bedrooms. To apply this filter, we come back up here to the Home tab to the Sort and Filter, and we do Toggle Filter, which applies the filter to our table. And now we have 4 houses, all less than $300,000, and notice all 2 bedrooms. That's the end of step 9. After we save, I'm going to right click and save, and then we also close that table. We are now being asked to close all database objects. So we have nothing open, and you know that because there's nothing on our stage here. Close the database, exit, and submit to My IT Lab for grading or wherever you're asked to submit this assignment. I hope you did your best. If you made mistakes, don't panic. Start over with a fresh downloaded file and try again. Do your best. How about that, team? I got 100. I know you can too.